compliance and internal audit with the Entrust Group. And today we're going to talk about outsmarting investment scams, or trying to avoid investment scams as best as you can. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and write them in the chat box, and we'll probably get to them at the end. If there's a question that seems particularly pertinent for what I'm talking about at that particular moment, I might stop and answer it, but the likelihood is we'll wait until the end to answer all the questions. Before we get started, we have to provide one disclaimer. The Entrust Group does not provide investment advice or endorse any products. All information materials are for educational purposes only. All parties are encouraged to consult with their attorneys, accountants, and financial advisors before entering into any type of investment. All right, what we're going to go over today is talking about why due diligence is key before making any investments, and as a way to try to limit the getting ripped off in any kind of investment scenario. The best places that you can go to conduct your research before making an investment, some of the best practices, red flags to look out for. If you get any of these particular phrases or get told these things, it's something that should definitely raise your concern. Some examples of conducting due diligence on 3 of the most popular self-directed IRA types of investments, and what to do if you believe you have been scammed. All right, first of all, why due diligence is key. With self-directed IRAs, which opens up a great deal of more opportunities for investment areas outside of the traditional stock, bonds, and mutual funds, it tends to open up areas for scams. Self-directed IRAs provide a safe way to invest, but again, they do provide more opportunity for what potentially is fraudulent schemes. Administrators, such as the Entrust Group, have very limited duties to investors. It's ultimately up to you as the investor to do your due diligence and make sure that it's not a scam. Administrators, Entrust Group in particular, will not evaluate the quality or legitimacy of an investment and its promoters, and that needs to be emphasized, because we do get some people who think that because somebody who is bringing investment and oftentimes encourages people to invest through them through a self-directed IRA and will direct them to the Entrust Group or some of our competitors, that they believe that the Entrust Group is endorsing those, and that's not the case. Investors should undertake their own evaluations of the merits of investment opportunities. So you need to make sure that you do all the due diligence. That's not anything that the administrators or the Entrust Group is going to do. All right, somebody said no sound here. I'm not sure if that's okay. So yes, if you're not hearing, you need to call in the 800 number to hear. It's not going to be over your computer. Thanks. So again, to talk about what the administrator is responsible for as opposed to what you're responsible for, won't my administrator handle everything? Administrators and Entrust Group specifically, we will administer the sale and purchase of assets and process invoices. We ensure accurate and up-to-date recording and IRS reporting, and we provide annual statements. So again, we administrate the IRA, but we don't get involved in determining whether the asset is legitimate, whether it's a good investment or a bad investment. We just direct what you as the investor, we follow what you as the investor direct us to do. What we will not do is offer products or recommend investments, endorse any particular product or company, provide any investment advice whatsoever, and provide legal or financial guidance. As a matter of fact, one of my main responsibilities as compliance officer with the Entrust Group is to make sure that any collateral that we send out does not provide any investment advice. It's something that we're very focused on and careful about. Okay, the investor, what you're responsible for. So you actually identify the investment. You are responsible for investigating all the risk associated with it, conducting all of the due diligence. You negotiate any purchase price, anything that you're going to purchase. You were responsible for doing all the negotiations. Ensure that the transactions do not involve disqualified persons. This is really important associated with self-directed IRAs, that you know and understand the rules associated with prohibited transactions and disqualified persons, and that you don't engage in any of those. Again, ensure investments are not prohibited by IRS, which is Section 4975 of the IRS Code, or Internal Revenue Code, and that all the investments and all the transactions that occur within the investment are in the name of the retirement account and flow in and out of the retirement account. How and where you can conduct research. This is pretty, I think probably pretty obvious, is with the advent of the internet, which has been around a while. You can do a lot of your research online. Google, the Better Business Bureau, as well as going to different government sites. Make sure that you ask detailed questions associated with your investment. Fully understand the investment and the risk that entails. All investments have risk associated with them. If they are giving you an impression that there is no risk associated with the investment, then be aware that there's always risk associated with any investment. And as always, seek advice from attorneys and financial professionals, again, which Entrust is not that. You want to make sure that you go outside of the Entrust Group or any administrator to get any advice from attorneys and professionals, CPAs, and potentially financial advisors. So here's some areas where you can actually go online and do your own research. The American Association of Individual Investors has a great deal of investment information. EDGAR, Financial Industry Regulator Authority, that's a site that's provided by the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Department of Treasury has a site, the Financial Literacy and Education Commission. Investor Protection Trust has a great deal of investor education. The IRS is very important that you understand what, again, prohibited transactions and disqualified persons are before you do any transactions within your self-directed IRA. The North American Securities Administrators Association, again, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Entrust Group. We do have a learning center on our website that has webinars such as this, as well as various articles that you can go. And if you are unfamiliar with an investment, it can give you some basics, some understanding of the different types of alternative investments that are available to you as an investor through your self-directed IRA. All right, so here's some questions that you're going to want to ask if you are considering a particular investment. What information exists to back up claims on the investment? They will give you a lot of information as far as how the investment will perform. You want to make sure that you get detailed information to support that, maybe some history of how the investment has performed previously. Does this investment meet your needs and goals? You want to consider whether you're investing in something on a long-term or short-term basis, and how this falls into that consideration. Can the asset be held in the name of the IRA or qualified plan? There are certain things that you cannot invest in through your IRA, such as certain precious metals, certain coins, collectibles such as art, stamps. You can't invest through your IRA, although you can invest in companies, such as maybe a wine company you can invest in, but you can't own wine through your IRA, even though you might consider that an investment. And you can't have insurance in your IRA or qualified plan. You want to consider if there are any pending lawsuits or prior bankruptcies for the company. That maybe seems self-evident, but it's something that you want to make sure and review. And do you have a clear and defined exit strategy? What's important with that is that a lot of alternative investments do not have high liquidity. They're not easy to necessarily sell So if you are in a situation where you might need cash associated with that you're considering an investment, you want to take that into consideration before investing in some of the alternative investments, because they're not going to be as liquid as stocks and bonds. Okay, some best practices before you make an investment. Make sure you keep detailed notes on all the conversations that you have with whoever you're considering investing. Ask for copies of written materials before making an investment. Meet the representative in person, if possible. Visit their office. Research the background of the company officers. Set a realistic timetable for the transaction. A lot of time you will get people who are wanting to sell investment that might offer a return in a certain amount of time. Be careful with that and be aware that some of these investments are going to be longer term. And then last of all, don't rush into any investment. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but one of the red flags that we're going to mention is that if they are trying to rush you into an investment and may state that you have a certain amount of time before this investment will no longer be available, that's something that you should be very careful about. And as we mentioned, red flags, urgency, act now, the opportunity will not last. If you hear that, I would encourage you to probably walk away or be very, very careful associated with that. Refusal to answer questions or give details in writing. You know, Bernie Madoff wrote an article or was interviewed, and one of the comments that he made was that anytime anybody asked him how he was generating the returns that he refused to answer. He just wouldn't give them any answers, and people still invested with him. So if people are being hedgy or are not giving clear answers associated with this, you want to be very leery of making that investment. If they have any unresolved complaints with the Better Business Bureau or you can review a rip-off report or anything like that, obviously you want to be very concerned about that. If they're pushing this investment as something that's exclusive to you, if you have some kind of special ranking with them, that you're one of the few people that's going to get this great opportunity to invest with them, be really careful associated with that. And then the one big thing is if they're guaranteeing high returns. And again, all investments come with risk. All investments can lose money. If they're guaranteeing high returns, then there's a pretty good chance that it's something that you're going to want to be very leery of. All right, so here's some examples of 3 of our most popular investments, the alternative investments that people invest in with us. And the biggest one is real estate. And a lot of people are pretty comfortable investing with real estate, but don't necessarily do the due diligence required. So know your real estate professional, check for any complaints on the record, conduct a thorough inspection of the property through a trusted provider, see what repairs may need to be completed. So take a good look at the property and hire a professional to take a look at it if you don't have that expertise, and consider any potential environmental issues. One other thing to be aware of, if you're going to purchase property through your IRA to avoid any prohibited transactions, is that the property, if you purchase through your IRA, it is the asset of the IRA. The IRA is the one who owns the property. So you cannot purchase a property through your IRA that is already currently owned by you or a disqualified person, such as your spouse, or a lineal ascendant, such as a child or a parent. And also, if you own a rental property through your IRA, a disqualified person cannot stay in the property. You cannot lease the property to a disqualified person. So if you have a property through your IRA, it cannot be rented to a family member. It cannot be rented to a parent. It cannot be rented to a child. And then finally, all of the income and expenses associated with the property, and this applies to all assets that you purchase through your IRA, but seen most prevalently in real estate, is that all income, all rental income, and all expenses have to flow in and out of the IRA. They have to be processed through the IRA, which is the responsibility of the administrator, the Entrust Group, to handle all of those transactions for you. Precious metals is probably our second most popular form of alternative assets that's purchased in the IRA. If you purchase a precious metal through your IRA, it has to be held by a third party. It has to be held by a depository, and it must be a regulated, insured facility that stores precious metals. So if you're going to purchase any precious metals through your IRA, you are responsible for making sure that you have a proper depository to hold custody of the metals on your IRA's behalf. And as mentioned, the IRS rules prohibit investors from taking personal possession of the IRA-owned physical metal, and the dealers may be able to recommend a depository that meets the IRS regulations. So if you want to purchase any precious metals through your IRA, the dealer should be able to recommend a depository for that. Also bear in mind that certain precious metals are not eligible. So example, coin collection is not something that can be held or purchased through your IRA. Precious metals that can be held, it's based on the fineness of the metal. And there are specific regulations that are easy to research to determine whether something qualifies as being able to be held in an IRA or whether it's a collectible, whether it's considered a collectible. And then the last one, private placements, which is a great, potentially a great investment through your IRA, but also potentially is the one that comes inherent with the most risk. So according to the National Association, I forget at the moment what NASA stands for, but private placement offerings are the most frequent source of enforcement cases conducted by state security regulators. So this is the one area I think that self-directed IRAs have provided an opportunity for people to both create significant gain through their IRA, such as if you were able to invest in, as everybody loves to give an example, like a Facebook or a Google, but also is one area where I think people have experienced the most risk and have received loss. If you're ever asked to falsify information to qualify as an accredited investor, you want to be very, very leery associated with this. Again, that may seem self-evident, but if an investment seems like it might be a great opportunity, people sometimes are willing to take that risk, but you want to be very, very careful associated with that. And finally, can the seller answer questions about the company or its executive backgrounds? If they don't have the kind of information that you're looking for, you want to be very careful about making that type of investment. Make sure that you ask for a lot of information. That goes with all these types of investments, particularly to be emphasized with private placements. The federal and state securities laws do not mandate that companies disclose information in private placement offering. So an investor, you should still ask a lot and request information. You want to take control and withhold any investment dollars if you don't get the information you requested. You want to be very, very leery with private placements associated with that. What to do if you believe you've been scammed? You want to contact your state attorney general's office, your state securities administrator, which we provide the website, and then the SEC has a complaint center if you feel you've been scammed, that you want to start with those. And any local law enforcement I would also throw out there as somebody that you would want to contact, although they would probably just forward you to some of these different sites. So finally, to summarize, due diligence is essential in combating potential investment scams. And again, the due diligence is completely incumbent upon the investor to do their research. It's not going to be provided by the administrator. The Entrust Group does not endorse any products, and just because a investment, just because they are encouraging you to open an account with the Entrust Group or any other administrator, there is no relationship associated with that. Take your time, thoroughly investigate, and get the answers to all the questions that you have before making any investment decisions. And also contact officials if you believe you may have been victim to an investment scam.